Good morning, boys. It's been a few days since I've done the 10:30 kids story time. As you can see, I haven't forgot to wear my hat, and that hat reminds me Burger King sounds like a good deal. No, I don't know about all that, but hey, I wanted to talk to you about great falls. I mean, first fall. Did you ever take a fall and it made a loud noise, or somebody fell in the house and was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And you walk out there and your mom slipped in on the slippery floor maybe or something, and you got to help her up and you hope she's not hurt. I want to talk to you about a fall. I was talking to one of our church members, Jim Wilson, and he lives in the cabins area. A beautiful place that's covered. He's got all kinds of great big mighty oak trees in his yard, his front yard, along the side of his house, and then behind his house, and they're beautiful. Have reached the age where their limbs are starting to break, and the limbs themselves are huge. Some of those limbs on these trees are that big, just the limb, and if that limb were to fall and hit you, if you were out there, you'd be in trouble. I could kill you. Jim told me the other day he was out in the backyard and he was mowing around one of those big trees, and he got the weed eater out and he trimmed around the big tree, and then he moved away. About 10 minutes after he had moved from underneath that tree, one of those great big limbs on that tree let loose and fell to the ground, crashed, made a huge noise, and Jim realized, wow, if I'd have been under that tree, that could have hit me, killed me. And so he's contacted a company, and as we speak, right now, we're up there at his house with equipment and know-how and chainsaws and maybe a lift. I don't know what all they're doing, but they're cutting some of those dead limbs off of trees. And there's a couple trees that they're cutting down. One of the great big trees, I cut a couple limbs. It was dangerous, and I've decided I'm not. That tree it's humongous, big around. I mean, a big old mighty oak, and it's just the trunk basically left on it. And I asked Jim if they've cut any of the big trees down yet. Oh, he said they cut that great big one up that I just described. And he said, I said, whoa, what a noise that thing would make as it crashed and thundered onto the ground. And he said, yep, if the neighbors were all sleeping, they're awake now, because it would have just shook the ground. Everybody in the neighborhood knew, whoa, I heard that. A little story similar about a mighty big crash that must be around, heard it. And it's at Matthew chapter 7. Here's what Jesus said in this little story. He said, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell. And the last phrase says, and great was the fall of it. When it crashed down, when that foolish man's house fell, it made such a great noise. It seemed everybody around was like, whoa, did you hear about so-and-so? He lost everything. He made a foolish decision. He didn't do the right thing, and wham! The fall of it was great. I was thinking about that earlier this morning when I was talking to Jim about that great big tree as it fell, and you could picture it just thundering, hitting the ground. Great was the fall of it. He said, if you follow what I say, if you listen to the rules and the commandments that I give to you, if you live by those, storms can come and you can be shook, but your house, your life is founded and built on a rock. Rock of Ages, Jesus. But if you ignore all that, do your own thing, eventually trouble's going to come and you're going to fall over like a great big huge tree, and it'll be a thunderous sound. All that reminds me, that story, someone wrote a song. Maybe as you were hearing me read, you thought that sounds like a song I know. Yeah. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the rains did come down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. Down and the floods came up. But the house on the rock stood firm. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. And the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the rains came down and the floods came up. And the house on the sand fell flat. So make sure you're choosing. It's your choice. You're doing the choosing. Are you going to choose God's way or some other way? God's way is like building your house on a rock, firm foundation. Building it on anything else, you're in sinking sand. Have a good day.